So, good afternoon, everyone. It gives me immense pleasure in interacting with you all for the 31st program, which is being conducted by Institute of Indian Foundrymen Chennai Chapter through Microsoft Teams platform. Before we get started, we request all the participants to kindly mute your microphones during the presentation. And towards the end of the program, you may unmute yourself and ask the questions, requesting you all to please kindly cooperate. To get things started, we now request Mr. P. Senthilkumar, Honorary Treasurer, IIF Chennai Chapter, to welcome the gathering, please.
Good afternoon, fellow Foundrymen. Welcome you for this great webinar. Now, as we all know, for manufacturing industries, men, machines, method, and these are very important for four M's. In this, men plays a very important role. That is basically our team members. Generally, we call it as biggest asset is our manpower, but it is not so. Basically, your skilled and motivated employee is the biggest asset for any organizations, and it is the organization responsibility to train the team or upskill the team on regular basis to get the better productivity and the performance of the company. I'm sure that today's speaker would bring us a lot of things on table for the Foundrymen and on this topic, which will enrich all of us. I would request you to all of you to active listening and take notes. Maybe you can raise your question, as Secretary said, at the end of the session. And see, I would request you to ask more questions so that it will be more interactive and which will enrich others also. And I ask Mr. Vignesh to give up introduction of the speaker right now to start the program.
Now to introduce our day, Senthilkumar. Senthilkumar is an entrepreneur based in Akron, Ohio, USA. He's the founder of THORS and an investor in several companies involved with online learning. His background also includes the distribution and manufacturing of engineered products. Mr. Senthil received a bachelor's of technology degree from Anna University, India, and a master's degree in engineering from the University of Akron, United States. Mr. Senthil started out in the manufacturing industry as a young engineer and was eager to learn as much as possible. However, Mr. Senthil's managers had very little time to supplement his inquiries. They were focused on training him for the jobs at hand. So Mr. Senthil wasn't satisfied. He wanted to understand his role within the vast ecosystem of modern manufacturing. His quest led him to realize the challenges of unlocking the valuable knowledge secured in the minds of subject matter experts, that is SMEs. So Mr. Senthil became more experienced himself by never and make it readily available to everyone. THORS was launched in the year 2010 to help the manufacturing workforce obtain foundational and experiential manufacturing process knowledge in a structured way that enables effectiveness and profitable growth. Today, THORS has a variety of customers in the manufacturing industry, ranging from Fortune 500 companies and Global 1000 organizations to many Tier 1 and Tier 2 companies. So it's a pleasure to have Mr. Senthilkumar with us. The floor is yours, Mr. Senthil.
Thank you again, Vignesh. It's a privilege to be here. I so happen to be in town. I'm heading back to the US on Saturday. So it's really, privilege to talk to you. And, there's always, when you attend a conference, this time after lunch is called the graveyard shift because everybody's already eaten and this is the best time to sleep. So if hopefully at the end of this presentation, we still have the audience, I think we have done well, or at least I've done well, I should say.
Yes.
So thank you. And I'm just sharing my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Sure. Yeah, it's visible, sir.
Okay, great. So today what I wanted to focus on is today we live in a world of what we called as digitization, right? So everything has become digital and data driven. So as I said, Thors has been doing this for 12 years, and we have a lot of experience working with our Fortune 500 customers and tier 1 and tier 2 manufacturers, including several of the largest foundries in North America, right? So I have some exposure in working with them, and I want to share some of what we have learned. And I think Senthil talked about it, saying, "Hey, your biggest asset is skilled and motivated employees," right? So, and it's not only skilled and motivated, I would call knowledgeable employees, right? So today's focus is more on organizations. What I say is how we have worked with our customers to improve an organization's manufacturing IQ and effectiveness. I think somebody's on mute. I can hear a voice, so if you can turn to mute, that'll be great. Thank you. So today, okay, great. So what I want to talk about is in our 12-year experience, right, building this company and working with our customers, and almost now 30 years in manufacturing, where I worked with in the casting space quite a bit. I thought I'd first summarize what are the challenges in the foundry industry. This could be, obviously North America centric, but I also believe this has relevance in India, and I'd like to conduct a poll also on that. So if you really look at it, I bucket the challenges into two buckets, right? So one is I call the domain knowledge challenge, and the second I call the technological challenge, right? So I'll get into both of these. So what do I mean by domain knowledge challenge? So within every foundry, right, you have several key functions. So you might have molding, cleaning or fettling, what you call melting, procurement, quality, core room, maintenance, and sales, right? So at a high level, these are the different functions within a foundry. Now, people are hired into a foundry from different backgrounds, right? So I can again speak North American centric, but I'm sure in India too, this is the case. People join a foundry from different educational backgrounds. It could be a business degree, a liberal arts degree, an engineering degree. And engineering, there are so many types of engineering degrees, right? Mechanical engineer, industrial engineer. And somebody said they're from the foundry school, famous foundry school, right? And NIFT, I think, is what they said. So people come from there. Then some people join with finance and accounting degrees, and some of them come with directly a diploma, right, or a GED. And the challenge for the foundry industry, if you really think about it, is it's a very knowledge intensive industry, right? So people need to have foundational knowledge. So what do I mean by foundational knowledge? People need to know how to interpret an engineering drawing. How do I interpret a casting drawing? How do I interpret a machining drawing? What are all the basic measurement tools? What are the basic quality tools, right? And there's a whole bunch of content which I call foundational, which is required of a lot of foundry members. So in things like 7QC tools, right? These are all what I call foundational knowledge. Second one is I call this as material knowledge, right? So if you're in an ferrous foundry, let's say you're pouring ductile iron, you need to have knowledge about ductile iron. Gray iron foundry, you need to have knowledge about gray iron. Aluminum, you need to have knowledge about aluminum. So again, material knowledge is very important. The third thing is what I call manufacturing process knowledge, right? So if I go within an iron foundry, I need to understand green sand, right? I need to understand green sand properties, right? What is the green sand system? So like that, there's a lot of detail in each of the processes. If I'm in a gravity die casting foundry, I need to understand the gravity die casting process, right? So these are all manufacturing process related knowledge. The next is new technologies, right? Today, they're talking about things like robotics. They're talking about things like AI, right? So again, you need to have all of this knowledge. And then I also talk about, I didn't put it here, product knowledge, where, if I have a motor, if I have a particular piece of equipment, I also need knowledge from that from a maintenance standpoint. Now, where is all this knowledge available? Now, I'm an engineer. I'm sure a number of you on this call are engineers. You know this, that all of this knowledge I'm talking about, where does it exist in a very structured way, right? Because the human mind likes to learn in a very structured manner. If you search on Google or online, you will get something what related to what you search, but you don't have the structure. So where does this knowledge exist? Obviously, it's not taught in the classroom. We know what we learned about manufacturing in college, right? Very little. It is not in a textbook, and definitely it is not taught on the internet. So where does this knowledge exist is, this knowledge exists in what we call the mind of the subject matter expert, right? So what are the limitations in transferring this knowledge? So if I have a subject matter expert, I want to go learn from that expert, which is the way it has been done for the most part ever since I started my career till we started THORS. The first step is availability of the subject matter expert. Now remember, I told you there are so many topics, right? Right from engineering drawing to quality tools to materials to manufacturing process. So it is very unlikely that one person has all of this knowledge, right? So that first one is availability. The second is, even if that person had a knowledge, how much time do they have, right, to teach? That becomes the next important issue. The next important issue after that is, do they have a passion to teach, right? Now, why I started THORS is because I love to learn, I love to teach. So that is why I've started this. This is my passion. Now, if you have a very knowledgeable person in the company, it's still a chance, 50-50 chance that person has the passion to teach. So that is very important. Next is lack of structure. So having built 150 plus courses to date, I can speak very strongly saying a lot of these experts have the knowledge in their head. But if I say, sir, please teach me about ductile iron, if I have a ductile iron expert, where do they start, right? And how do they disseminate that knowledge is a huge hurdle or a bottleneck. Next is inconsistency. Now, this becomes very important. I will explain. So suppose I have an expert, the expert is teaching me. This week, the expert will teach me based on the burning problem this week. Next week, if somebody else goes to the expert, they will teach something else. It is because the expert's job is in different roles, but rarely is it their job to teach everybody. So what ends up happening is, when the expert is teaching, there is inconsistency between people who learn from that same expert. The next one is the knowledge transfer efficiency, right? So if I learn from the expert, the transfer efficiency could be 80%. If I teach the next person, it will be 60 or 50%. The next layer below will be 40 or 30%. So what ends up happening is the effective transfer rate drops dramatically, right? If you multiply zero point 0.8 by 0.5 by zero point 0.4, you're at a very low number. So the transfer efficiency is not very good. Next one is, in most cases, the learning is not measurable. So we don't know what the knowledge level is of the learner to start with. What did they learn in the process? What did they finish in the end? Rarely is it measurable. Next one is, all of it is time consuming and it's very expensive, because I recall my own career where it took me a long time to learn things. And during that entire period, I was not very productive, right? So, and if I made any decisions, they were not optimal decisions. So it ends up costing the company money in terms of decision making and also in terms of productivity. So these are all the challenges that we have. And now today, technology has changed rapidly, right? So when I started my career to today, the rate of change of technology is just unbelievable. And one of the key things which has come about is what we call data-driven decisions, right? So this is what I call as the technological challenge. Now there are two things. So first I say, how do we identify knowledge gaps objectively? As I said, today we live in a knowledge economy, right? So knowledge has a premium because knowledge translates into ultimately profitability, in my opinion. So today, if I go to most companies and say, hey, can you tell me in your domain, what are the knowledge gaps? Companies are rarely able to explain that. The next one is, in the US at least, now foundries are trying to digitalize their processes. And what do I mean by digitalize is today we talk about big words like digital transformation, right? What does that mean? It's very simple. There are 3 steps to digital transformation. The first step is what we call digitization, where I take paper-based processes and make them digital. The next layer on top of that is called digitalization, where I apply analytics and sort through the digitized data. And if I do this across every aspect of my business, then I've considered my business to be digitally transformed. So this is a problem in most companies. So we have the technological challenge and we have the domain knowledge challenge, right? So 2 challenges. So what I want to do is I have a poll question here, and I'm going to jump one slide because we have few participants. You already told me which industry you're in, so I'm not going to worry about that. But I'm going to the second poll question. What challenge does your foundry, or in this case, you have some suppliers to foundries, what challenges do they face, right? I talked about the 2 areas. One is I talked about the lack of domain knowledge. The next one is the lack of technological knowledge, which I explained to you, or both, right? Or none. So I want to take a minute. If you can please use your cell phone, scan this QR code and submit your response. It shouldn't take more than 30 seconds to do. At the end of it, I will have my colleague Deepika present, what each of you identified is a challenge. Either it's lack of domain knowledge or lack of technological knowledge, or both, or maybe you're one of those rare companies who don't have any problem, right, in both these areas. So can you take a minute and scan this, sir, and complete it? I will give it a minute. Hopefully that's sufficient. Deepika, you know how many people are participating. Let me know if you've got everybody submitted an answer, or at least we got majority of the answers, please.
So far, sir, we have received inputs from only 2 of the participants.
22?
No, only 2.
Only 2. Okay. We'll give a few more minutes. Maybe I've succeeded in putting everybody to sleep.
I don't think so, sir.
No, sir. Unfortunately, I'm outside, so I'm not
Okay.
able to scan the QR code. Otherwise,
Okay.
I would have done that.
Sometimes what happens,
I'm attending on my phone.
through mobile.
Yeah, most of them will be attending through the phone.
Oh, through the phone, is it? Okay. Well, we'll give it a minute, sir. If it happens, it happens. If not, we can proceed. Give it one more minute.
Seems to be a challenge. Not able to scan since the QR code is masked by format.
Masked by what, sir?
I don't know, sir. The person has said, Mr. Swaminathan, he has said not able to scan since the QR code is masked by the format.
Are you able to see the QR code, Deepika?
Yeah.
Okay,
I can.
Yes, sir.
We are able to see, but the scanner
I
it
have
is not
scanned
open.
and responded also.
Okay, excellent.
Working.
Excellent. Okay,
The
good.
problem is that the people are attending through mobile. It will be difficult for them.
Difficult for them. Okay.
Yeah,
So
you may have to give some HTML link maybe next time. So that
Okay. It's a good learning experience. We'll do that. Okay. Good. Okay. So we'll continue on, sir. 1 minute. So I want to then discuss how some of our customers and companies in the US have been able to solve this problem, right? And also we have some customers in India who are using our solution. So first one is identifying the knowledge gaps. I'll talk about that. Then I'll talk about an example of digitalizing. I think both of these would be of interest to the audience. So identifying the knowledge gaps objectively. So the key word here is objectively, right? Think about it. So today, if you go into a company and ask them, hey, tell me who in your organization knows what, right? Or I often use this with our customers, the saying, you don't know what you don't know, right? So why I say that is this. Today, when you look at the current state, we use a very subjective approach to identifying knowledge gaps. What do I mean by that, right? So typically, if you go ask in an organization, a manager will assess and determine based on their working experience what a person knows or doesn't know. And the number of years of experience is a very key indicator of how knowledgeable or not knowledgeable a person is. We all assume that the more number of years of experience, the more the knowledge the person has. Now, I can tell you for myself, after starting THORS, which has been 12 years, being involved in developing the content, as I get older, I realize how much I don't know. So that's why this subjective approach to identifying knowledge gaps, in our opinion, may not be very, very effective. So what is the future state? So already some of our customers are doing this, and I'll give you an example of what they have done. They use the data-driven approach to objectively determine what the knowledge gaps are. So how they do it is they identify the function. It could be, the molding department, the melting department. It could be the quality organization, so on and so forth. And they identify the role, right? What is the role of the person? And they identify the competencies for that role. And then after they identify the competencies, they develop an assessment matrix, right? So if I'm in a ductile iron foundry, for example, I need to know about ductile iron metallurgy, right? I need to know about charge calculation. So these are all the elements of the matrix that I need to test my team member on. If I'm in the methoring organization, hey, I need to know gating and risering well, right? I also need to know basics of metallurgy well. So like that, you can develop an assessment matrix. And in our organization, we have built this assessment tool, which is preloaded with about, easily about 3,000 plus questions across any topic you can think of. And I'll share that in the end. And you set a parsing threshold, right? So in your organization, you say, hey, I want everybody to have at least 80% in terms of a pass criteria. And once you have this, then it's very easy. It's basically, a link or a QR code, and the person takes it. And I'm going to have you take a quiz. We're going to launch an assessment for you to get a feel as to how easy it is. And again, that's going to be a problem because most of you on this call are only on, your cell phone. So probably we should not even waste our time doing that. So anyway, you launch the assessment. Now, we have done this for a customer, and this is the kind of data we got, right? So this organization is roughly about an $800 million business, $800 million euro business, huge MNC, big presence in India. And they assessed their team on 7 subjects, right? Or I would call it as topics or subject. And I've masked it out because I didn't want to show too much detail. But they did it. And you notice they set the pass criteria as 80, right? Now, if I look at this subject number 1, if you look, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people who took it, and only 4 people have scored 80%. Now, the leadership in this organization said, hey, this knowledge in this domain is critical to the person performing their job effectively. So like that, they put together this matrix with our tool, and they rolled it out, and they got this data. Now, we have a further analytics engine on top of that. And this is basically, I wanted to give you a quiz, but since most of you do not have a mobile phone, I'm not going to do this because I wanted to give you this quiz and then at the end share the results with you. But if only 2 people are going to take it, I don't see any point in putting this up right now. So let's go on. So here, what we do is we have this dashboard within our tool, which tells at a high level, you can segregate by department, by function, by role, which tells you set all these parameters and you can look. In this case, only 3 people passed and 7 people failed. And this is an organization where there is some amount of expertise and experience, right? So we have a lot of data now that supports that in many cases, the fundamental knowledge is lacking, right? So now this organization, not only do we have the scores at a high level, we also have the ability to further analyze the questions, right? So all our quiz questions, we can tie it, for example, a quiz question can be tied using a tag to a particular topic. So in a quiz, I say, does the person know phase diagrams? That means I have questions on phase diagrams. Does the person understand hardening processes related to heat treat? Do they understand equipment, right? And then I can also analyze if the person has either has identification knowledge, understanding knowledge, or application knowledge. Where are they weak in? Because we ask application type questions. So this is a multi-dimensional assessment. It is not just, hey, I got a score. We can even tell which area, which subject is the person weak, and in that subject, what is the area of weakness, right? And we can come up with the results of the competency matrix saying, hey, this person in your organization has good knowledge in these areas, the other people do not. So actually, this process identifies the knowledge gaps and as a byproduct also identifies who are the experts within your organization on a specific topic. So this is very, very important. So this is the first phase called identifying knowledge gaps using data. Next, I want to jump to a tool and I'm on time. I'm making sure I'm on time because we want to leave a few minutes for questions. Addressing the knowledge gaps effectively. Here we have built a library of courses, right? Which, cover, so many topics. Today we have about 150 topics and we continue to add more and more content on a regular basis. So here, if you look at it in terms of material courses, we have, casting courses, ductile iron, aluminum, ductile iron, gray iron, we have steel, all of these materials. Then I talked about manufacturing fundamentals, starting with engineering drawing to, 5S, to contingency planning, to quality, all of these topics. And we have all the different manufacturing processes. So we have courses on every single casting or foundry process you can think of, on heat treating, right? Then we have developed a whole library of courses on machining. A lot of the foundries also do machining. So today we don't have time to go into this, but this is the concept is the customer goes through the assessment, and based on the assessment, as I said, we already have a question bank of more than 3,000 plus questions on any topic. So ductile iron, we have questions. Gray iron, we have questions. Molding, we have questions. Green sand, you have questions. So any topic you can think of, and the person completes the assessment. Then based on where they need learning, we can also provide you the content. You can train the people. So this is the methodology that our customers are adopting in North America to train their people. So it's a data-driven approach to addressing the knowledge gap. The next topic, slight shift. I want to talk about digitization, right? So we talk about digitization and digitalization and how our foundry customers are now using these tools and experiencing dramatic improvements in productivity. So I want to at least today, if I can leave with you thinking about this, I think we have gained some value. So let me explain this a little bit, right? So today, I call it the past. How do we monitor a manufacturing process, right? So typically in any process, you have, they might use a checklist. a piece of paper where they might record variables. Right? It can be any process you can think of within a foundry. There are so many processes. It can relate to a machine. So it can be machine 1, machine 2, machine 3. And what they typically do is they enter the data into a sheet of paper. Then they come back, and if they want analysis done on it, what they do is they use a tool for the data analysis. It could be, a simple Excel program that can be used for analysis. It can be a high-end program like Tableau, where you're entering the data for data analysis. Then what happens is you analyze the data, right? And then based on that, you respond. Now, sometimes the process by which, the time frame by which you go from collecting the data to analyzing the data there's a lag, right? It could be days, it could be weeks, whatever the case may be. So most of the time you're responding reactively. This has been the past. Now, what we are seeing as the future, which we are also helping enable with our tools, is real-time data entry into either it could be a phone, it could be a tablet or a computer at the point of use, right? So it could be at a machine, it could be a process, whatever the case may be. And this process is what I call digitization, where I'm taking something that is paper-based and making it digital. Then what happens is we have an analytics engine that runs real-time analytics on the entered data, which is what we call digitalization, right? So it digitizes the data. And then the system itself, based on logic, will give you alerts or reminders depending on the business case. And the power of this is now you have a data-driven approach to problem solving, right? It's not definitely not reactive, right? It is proactive and it is done in real time. So that is the power of digitalization and what the future state will be. So hope this makes sense. So I have a case study, and we have built in our tool a Pareto chart capability. And this is an example. This is a $1 billion plus company, and they use a process which most of you foundries also will, some of you foundries will be using. And what it is typically what would happen is all of this was paper based, right? At this $1 billion company, and they rolled out our product. And when they did the product, they had people, operators, shop floor operators directly enter the information. And when they entered the information, this is how the data appeared, right? So this is a Pareto chart. So obviously, you know the 80-20 rule. So they were straight away able to look at it and say, hey, the key contributing causes, right, for the problem are P1, P4, and P12. Right? So what they did is first, please pay attention. The data collection period was September to December. Then what they did, they identified, they studied the causes, and they applied solutions to address those causes which were resulting in the non-conformance, right? So once they did that, you could see a remarkable drop in P1, P4, and P12, right? So this is January to June. And now, after they did that, finally, after the process changes had been implemented and stabilized, we have seen completely it come down to zero. Now, all of this was done at the click of a button. All they did is went from entering it from on a sheet of paper into a digital format. The power of this is we have made it so simple that you can create n number of applications or checklists, and you can roll out this tool instantaneously. And the power of what it has been able to accomplish is quite remarkable. So I want to leave this thought in mind, saying you should be looking at going from a reactive mode to a proactive mode, and to go from, what shall I say, to a more of a data-driven, real-time data-driven model. So this is the takeaway from here. So that's kind of what I wanted to discuss. And I have some Q&A. Before that, Deepika, can you share with us, please, what the poll results were? What are the challenges most of the people experience, or whoever took the poll? Okay, so great. So 60% of the people have both lack of domain knowledge and lack of technological knowledge, right? So which is, in our opinion, very true. We see that quite a bit, and appreciate you sharing your feedback on that. And Deepika, thank you again for managing and sharing these results with us. Thank you, Deepika. So now I'm coming back to the Q&A, and I'd like to open the floor up to any questions you might have if we haven't lost the audience yet.
This is Shiv Gopal again. My question is, I am a supporter, rather I am a supplier to foundries. I have told you, sir. Uh, so, as you said, we can also identify our own domain in our own process and in our own industry, and try to replicate whatever you have said, sir. But I just wanted to learn that by digitizing, what is the final objective? What is the final objective? You will be enlightening us into reaching the final goals somewhat rapidly, or what? This kind of things. I wish to learn from you, sir.
Yeah.
This is the
So,
question.
so Siva Gopal, if I understand the question is, hey, okay, all this digitization is fine. How is it going to help me? Did I understand it right? Or how is it going to help my company?
Oh yeah, that's right. Because because more number of documentation and I mean more data generated. Fine, we so far maybe may not be digitizing it. We may be doing it in a conventional manner of say employing some specified people in that roles and collecting the data with the normal conventional tools like Excel and things like that. That also is serving the purpose, but by digitizing the knowledge, I mean domain side and process side, and integrating them into something, that is the question is, are you into a solution providing spree or what?
Yeah, actually, I'll answer the question first before answering what is it we do, right? So first of all, so today the whole world is going towards a data-driven model, right? So simple, if I go to Amazon and shop on Amazon, Amazon looks at what I buy and recommends product what I need to buy, right? Similarly, if I go to Netflix and watch a movie, so the whole world is pivoting towards a data-driven model. So our thesis is, from a knowledge standpoint, today price competing competition is at a very high point. So if you have to compete, you need to be able to differentiate yourself, right? So if you're competing with all companies in India, you have possibility what capital cost as a differentiator, infrastructure as a differentiator, and more importantly, as I think Senthil talked about is, your knowledge of your people is a key competitive advantage, right? So unless you can measure that and improve that, you really do not have a true competitive advantage, in my opinion. So that is from a knowledge perspective. That is the value of doing this analysis. The second piece of it is from a manufacturing process perspective, like anything else, the more you're able to control a process, the more you're able to systemize uh, every process in the business, and also able to control it within a narrow band, right? So you have typically in a process upper control limit, lower control limit. So if you can control that, your quality, your consistency becomes higher, right? And obviously all that translates into profitability. So I think all these attributes are impacted by moving to this data-driven model.
I have, yeah, yes, my query is answered. My query is answered. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
In fact, it is a new model, new way of looking at the existing ones, and maybe the time and the money and the economics, everything you will be optimizing in such a way that quickly you will be presenting yourself into the market in a sellable way, and you will be more and more competitive, and you can be more acceptable, like the example you have said, Netflix and Amazon. which are acceptable solutions. So likewise, you need to improvise, and you have to change your way of style of functioning so that you are acceptable by one and all. Yeah, that way I take it very well, sir. Thank you. Thank you for answering.
Thank you, sir.
There are any further questions, gentlemen?
One more question, Mr. Senthilkumar. Could you please share your email contact so that because I have told you that we are a source to the foundries rather than, so my queries may be slightly different than the foundries. So if I want to share my own process or my own queries, how do we improve our domain knowledge and things like that? I wish to directly communicate with you. Is there a
problem.
possibility
Yeah,
of
no
reaching
problem.
by email?
I think I'll give you my contact information, sir. I think it's here, but Senthil, can you share it, please?
Yeah, I think, sir, you can take a screenshot of this thing, sir.
ssbala@thors.com?
Yeah, ssbala@thors.com is the local Chennai office, sir.
Okay, that's great. So if I shoot an email, you will be able to, for a period of time, can answer me, right?
Yeah, Bala should be able to do it. You can shoot an email to me, whatever the case may be. Yeah.
That's great, sir. In fact, it's a new way of new trend, I should say, because you are way ahead of our thinking. I should say that. I should be honest enough to accept that. Because there are three big platforms of domain and manufacturing process, and also sellability of it, or making profit out of it. All these three put together and optimizing it by a tool, that's great effort. I really welcome, and it is really enlightening. Your talk is really enlightening. Really enlightening.
Thank you, sir. Very kind of you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
If we have any further questions, gentlemen, Mr. Senthilkumar, more than happy to answer them.
Senthil sir, this is Senthil Kumar, Chennai Chapter Treasurer.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a list of topics which you are covering for a foundry in specific?
Yes, sir. I do, and I can send you the link. Can you send it to everybody, or do you want me to post it in this? Yeah.
You can send us by mail, or you can also post it in the chat box. People can understand what are the topics are available.
You can post it in the chat box, sir. That will be better.
Chat box.
It will be better.
Also, you can mail to us so that we can also send to our members.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I have an interactive version. So right now I'm going to the chat box. So bear with me 1 second and chat, and I am posting it here, right? And yeah. So I've also put it in the chat, but sir, can you forward this link to all attendees?
Yeah, okay, we can do that.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, that way it will be enlightening. That will be useful for whoever wants to use this as a tool and get the best out of Mr. Senthil or the platform of THORS. That will be really good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you all, gentlemen, for the opportunity. All the best to you. And hopefully we'll connect back sometime.
Yes, sir. So I'll just propose the vote of thanks. So, gentlemen, we had a very interesting webinar today on the topic how THORS can help rapidly improve your organization's manufacturing IQ and effectiveness. We are sure the contents of the presentation had a lot of takeaway for you. And we'd like to thank our speaker for the day, Mr. Senthilkumar, founder, THORS eLearning Solutions USA, for taking time off his busy schedule and making us rich with knowledge. Further, we'd like to thank all the members who joined us for this talk. I'm sure you had a wonderful learning experience. And thank you for joining us on time and being such a wonderful audience. We from the Chennai chapter will be conducting many such interesting programs, both physically and virtually, and we'll be sharing information on the same to you soon. Looking forward to your support as always for our upcoming programs. Thank you so much. Thanks, Sanju sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.